he doesn't really think a reconciliation will happen between father and son, let alone William. But he also thinks that William will banish Harry. I'm not quite sure how that will work. To be honest, as long as he's got the right to come to the UK, I don't think that the monarch can banish anybody. But Tom's, very well connected. He's written some very popular books about the royal family. So it's an interesting perspective. My perspective, I think, as we were discussing the other day, is that I'd never say never. I certainly think there's a decent chance that the King and Harry will reconcile, and William, I think and Kate, it's a lot tougher. But I think I was saying the other day again that somebody close to William said to me quite a while ago now, time's a great healer. I just wouldn't rule it out.
The vibe of this story, though, is it's a now or never thing. I mean, obviously, we know King Charles is facing his health battles. We know that the Sussexes have a new PR team, as it were, who had that meeting last week with King Charles's people. So you do get a sense of sort of like, the bridge is being built, at least between those two. But if that bridge isn't built now, with William as king, it's going to make, banishing, it sounds very like fairy tale medieval, doesn't it? But it does sound like life is going to be a lot more difficult for Harry back in the UK.
Yes, I'm sure you're right. And I think it is important that there's some impetus now. Harry's recruited this new PR team who they seem to have changed the narrative a little bit. I'm sure they would say they haven't been leaking some of the stories that have appeared. And certainly people close to Harry have distanced themselves from the idea that Harry has invited his father to the Invictus Games, or certainly not yet. I think it will happen, I have to say. But yes, there's this new spirit of engagement from the Sussex camp. And there seems to be, while Meghan's merrily getting on with making money hand over fist in the States, as far as we can tell, Harry seems to be more exercised about coming back over to the UK to do more of his charity work. And he's made it plain that he wants to reconcile with his family. So I think, now is a good time. He's coming over in early September, Harry, to do a whole series of charity events, and that was partly the reason for that meeting between his PRs and the palace last week. But whether he'll meet the King, I think, as Tom Bauer is saying in one of the papers this morning, the King's likely to be up in Scotland at that time, so that might make it tricky. But I wouldn't be surprised if they found a way of building bridges.
Well, you would hope so. To lighten up the royal mood here, though, Richard, in the Daily Mail today, there's a piece about a Channel 5 TV programme about a lip reader who has analysed many of the royal engagements that we've seen on TV, and obviously we can't hear what they're saying. But there's some quite fun moments in there, including on King Charles and Camilla's wedding day, when she had that amazing feathered hat on. And according to this lip reader, Camilla has said to Charles, "I wish I hadn't had the feathers." Charles, actually, on the wedding day, remember, Charles actually says, "Well, they do look awful." And meanwhile, the Queen in the...
Welcome back, Royal Sussex Squad family. You know what time it is. It's time to pull back the palace curtains and expose the real story behind the headlines. Now today we're diving into a truly eye-opening moment of unexpected unity. Prince Harry and King Charles reportedly agreeing on something, and it's about a key figure who's caused her fair share of chaos behind royal walls. Angela Kelly. That's right, the same Angela Kelly who styled the late Queen Elizabeth II and presented herself as some sort of behind-the-scenes fashion fairy godmother. Only if you ask Prince Harry, the only thing magical about Angela was her ability to sow division and obstruct progress. And wouldn't you know it, King Charles seems to agree. Let's rewind, squad. Let's remember that iconic moment leading up to Harry and Meghan's wedding. The Queen, in her role as grandmother and sovereign, extended a beautiful gesture to Meghan by allowing her to select a tiara from her own collection. That should have been a wonderful regal experience, right? A moment of bonding between the monarchy and the incoming Duchess. But enter Angela Kelly, stage left. According to Harry's own words in Spare, this woman suddenly transformed into a barrier, a roadblock, and quite frankly, a saboteur. Prince Harry said it best. Angela Kelly became obstructive. Obstructive in the one area where grace, cooperation and excitement should have reigned supreme. Meghan wasn't asking for the crown jewels. She wasn't trying to change royal tradition. She was simply preparing for her wedding, the same way every other royal bride has done for generations. But somehow Angela Kelly, who was not a family member, who was not part of any formal hierarchy, took it upon herself to play gatekeeper to the Queen's tiaras. And let's be clear, Squad, that was not just about jewels. That was about power, and the message was unmistakable. You're not one of us. Angela Kelly took what should have been a simple logistical matter and escalated it into a cold war of petty obstructionism. Prince Harry recounts that the tiara was withheld and attempts to coordinate a hair trial with it were blocked. And the moment Kelly finally delivered it, unannounced, and with that chilling look Harry described, it wasn't with grace. It was with hostility, intimidation, and a sense of vengeance. Let that sink in. This woman held on to that tiara as if she had the right to overrule the Queen's own wishes. Now, fast forward to today. In a twist nobody quite expected, it appears that King Charles is also no fan of Miss Kelly. Following the Queen's passing, Kelly's once sheltered world began to unravel. First, she was allowed to remain temporarily in her grace and favour Windsor home, but then came a quiet but pointed eviction. She was swiftly removed. That wasn't just logistics, that was a message. And now, as the palace prepares what is being billed as the largest and most comprehensive exhibition of Queen Elizabeth II's fashion in honour of her 100th birthday, guess who's not invited to be involved? Angela Kelly. Let that marinate for a moment. A woman who worked with the Queen for 2 decades, completely iced out of the very exhibition about the Queen's style and legacy, and who's overseeing it instead? Caroline de Guiteau. A woman with zero fashion background. What she does have, however, is the King's trust. That tells you everything you need to know. Now, this might look like a small detail to some, but we, the Sussex Squad, know the palace doesn't do things by accident. This is a deliberate move. This is King Charles cleaning house. This is a signal that he, like Harry, recognised the toxic presence of Angela Kelly within royal circles. And most importantly, it shows us that Harry wasn't exaggerating in Spare. He wasn't creating drama. He wasn't disrespecting the Queen. He was telling the truth. Let's talk about why this matters. Because for years, the British press spun this Meghan tiara story into some tabloid fantasy. They mocked Meghan for being demanding. They accused her of not understanding protocol. They even floated that infamous line about Meghan making the Queen uncomfortable. All lies, all spin, all propaganda, and it all conveniently protected the real villain of the story, Angela Kelly. The media never went after Angela the way they went after Meghan. Ask yourselves why. Because the media wasn't interested in the truth, they were interested in character assassination. Meghan was the target. Meghan, the black American woman who dared to walk into the royal family and shine. Meghan, the woman who connected with the public more in 6 months than most royals do in 6 years. But now the truth is clawing its way to the surface. Kelly's exclusion from this major royal event is confirmation. This woman wasn't the saviour of royal tradition, she was a gatekeeper of division. And it's telling that King Charles, despite all the tension with Harry, shares his son's view. That's how bad it was. And let's also not ignore the context of this revelation. It's coming at a time when Charles and Harry are reportedly engaging in quiet, behind-the-scenes peace talks. Could it be that Charles is finally starting to see through the fog, that he's beginning to realise who the real threats were? Not Harry, not Meghan, but the enablers and saboteurs inside the palace. This is what we in the squad have been saying all along. Harry and Meghan were not the problem. The problem was the system that enabled racism, backstabbing and manipulation. Angela Kelly is just one cog in a much larger machine. But her fall from favour is symbolic. It's a crack in the foundation. And when foundations crack, truth gets in. Let's not forget what Harry said in Spare. He described that moment with the Queen, how she showed kindness to Meghan, how they felt awed and loved and grateful. That wasn't fake, that wasn't spin, that was real. But what followed wasn't an outpouring of support, it was sabotage, and Angela Kelly wasn't acting alone. There were others like her, people in the palace who whispered into ears, planted stories and stoked division. But now, finally, we're starting to see accountability. It's slow, it's quiet, but it's happening. And to the tabloids who dragged Meghan through the mud, where's your coverage now? Where are your apologies? Where's the same energy you had when you were smearing a pregnant woman over a tiara? Angela Kelly's exclusion from this exhibition isn't just a scheduling decision. It's an erasure of someone the royals are finally admitting was more of a liability than an asset. It's an admission, without saying the words, that Harry had every right to speak his truth. And let's be honest, squad, this is validation, this is vindication. So to everyone who stood by Harry and Meghan when the media told you not to everyone who read Spare and recognised the pain behind the pages, to everyone who saw through the lies and held the line for truth, we see you, we thank you. And now the palace is starting to reflect what we already knew. This is about more than tiaras. It's about power, truth and narrative. And Harry and Meghan have always stood on the right side of history. Prince Harry and King Charles unite in rare agreement over royal family aide. The aide was close to Queen Elizabeth II and worked with her for the last 20 years of her life. Prince Harry and King Charles have found common ground in their shared dislike of a royal aide, according to an insider. Angela Kelly, dresser to Queen Elizabeth II, became a controversial figure in Prince Harry's 2023 memoir Spare, where he described her as a troublemaker. One incident involved the late Queen offering Meghan Markle the pick of her tiara collection ahead of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's wedding. Harry said Kelly became obstructive when it came to delivering the chosen headwear and accused her of being skilled at planting stories. Kelly has never directly responded to these claims. Despite clashing with Harry, she was close to the Queen and worked with her for the last 20 years of her life. After the Queen died in 2022, reports suggested Kelly had been allowed to remain in her grace and favour home on the Windsor estate. However, a well-connected royal writer subsequently said she was swiftly evicted. An insider told the Mail there was final confirmation of Kelly's banishment after she was excluded from an upcoming major Buckingham Palace exhibition showcasing the late Queen's clothes. The event, planned for next year to mark the 100th anniversary of the Queen's birth, promises to be the largest and most comprehensive exhibition of the late Queen's fashion ever mounted. Yet, despite Kelly's role as the Queen's stylist in her final 2 decades, she will not be involved. Instead, King Charles has chosen Caroline de Guitaut, surveyor of the King's works of art since 2023, to oversee the exhibition, even though she lacks experience in the fashion world. Sources claim Charles isn't a fan of Kelly, a sentiment he shares with his younger son. The snub comes amid tentative peace talks between Charles and Harry, and is likely to be welcomed by the Sussex household. Reflecting on the tiara incident, Harry recalled that he and Meghan had an extraordinary morning with the Queen, and left the palace feeling awed and loved and grateful. But when it came to receiving the tiara, Harry said Kelly became obstructive. He chose not to raise the issue with the Queen, explaining, "That would probably mean sparking an all-out confrontation, and I wasn't quite sure with whom Granny would side." He added, "To my mind, Angela was a troublemaker, and I didn't need her as an enemy. Above all, she was still in possession of that tiara. She held all the cards." Eventually, Kelly turned up unannounced at Kensington Palace with the heirloom. Although she handed it over, an argument broke out. Harry wrote, "She fixed me with a look that made me shiver. I could read in her face a clear warning, this isn't over." Now, if you're feeling this message, if you're proud to see Harry and Charles, even with their differences, aligning on the truth, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode. And if you believe in what we do here on the Royal Sussex Squad, if you stand with Harry and Meghan, then consider donating via Super Thanks. It helps keep this platform alive, vibrant and independent, just like our Duke and Duchess. Let's keep shining the light. Let's keep telling the truth. And let's remind the world that Harry and Meghan will not be erased, silenced or pushed aside. Their journey is one of purpose, of love and of courage, and we'll be here every step of the way to celebrate it. Until next time, squad, stay loud, stay proud and stay Sussex strong.